going to call to order. Carrie, can you please call roll?
Chairman Cucci?
Here.
Vice Chair Risberger?
Here.
Commissioner Lettuce?
Here.
Commissioner Swan?
Here.
Commissioner Hahn? Commissioner Parmenter?
Here.
Commissioner Simon?
Here.
Councilmember Walsh Russo?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. So we have a couple orders of business. I know many of you in the audience are here for RSS, as you may be able to see from our agenda, that is last tonight. So we will start, thank you. We will start with our new business. So we have applicant Griffiths Engineering. The applicant wishes to reuse the former Rite Aid as a gas station, convenience store, and liquor store, as well as additional undetermined uses. And we will give you an opportunity. Is Christopher, is it Stasny?
Yes.
Yes. Christopher, please take it away.
I'm Chris Stasny with Griffiths Engineering Architecture out of Bennington, and I'm here for the sketch plan conference, the initial presentation to the Planning Commission for the redevelopment of 94 Chestnut Street.
Chris, you can talk directly to us.
Okay, sorry.
They're just watching you.
All right. As was mentioned before, it was a former Rite Aid drugstore and liquor store. What the proposed redevelopment is to develop a portion of the building as a convenience store with a fueling island and EV charging stations, a liquor store and a portion of it, and a remaining portion, the majority of the building, undedicated to any specific tenant or use at this time. Currently, the site has 13 parking spaces along the south border here, 15 parking spaces up along the east border, and 6 parking spaces down through the center of the parking lot here, for a total of 34 parking spaces that are marked out on the site currently. There are 2 curb cuts that are coming into the site, one over here on the east end, and another one over here on the west end, going back to the former loading dock back there. What the redevelopment proposal is, as I mentioned, was to take a portion of the building, this portion over here becoming the convenience store, a fueling canopy developed over on the eastern portion of the site with 3 fueling islands, dual-sided, so there's 6 fueling positions under the canopy here, and 3 EV charging stations back here in the upper corner. Parking would be located along the front, southern front, and the eastern side of the building over here. These parking spaces total 20 spaces that are available here. I'm not positive, you have to give me some indications whether the fueling positions or the EV charging stations could be included as part of the parking arrangement. That would bring the total parking spaces available on this layout to 29. For the portion of the site that's being developed, the convenience store and the liquor store, based on the square footages, we would need 22 parking spaces. We did run the information that we are doing for this project past New York State DOT. DOT does not take jurisdiction over this section of Chestnut Street, Route 7, through the city. So we did basically use the DOT criteria for access to the site. We ran a fuel tanker into the site through the western entrance with a fueling position for the fueling tanks at the southern portion of the property and bringing it back out onto Chestnut Street to exit the site. So we have run a fuel tanker through there, but it basically just runs along the front of the property and back out into the road. The way the parking arrangement is in here, we've got minimum 24 feet access aisle down through here. Traffic can run over the top of the tanks. We have a 24-foot aisle over here for dual traffic movement, but on the backside here, it's pretty much a single aisle of traffic that basically would be set up as a one-way traffic pattern down through there. What we're looking for is some initial feedback. Obviously, the undedicated space in here does pose an issue in trying to develop what's going to be developed as, and to really tell us how much parking we would need. My initial discussions with Steve Yearley when we first started the project was to possibly consider it as a shopping center. We kind of just looked at the portions that we knew that we could develop here. We looked at it as a worst case scenario, which would require more parking spaces than a shopping center would. But either way, we're somewhat deficient in what would be required for parking. So we did have, I believe there were some questions as to the traffic generation that would take place with this development. We do have a traffic consultant we've contacted that is preparing to produce a trip generation letter to give us an indication of what they would have, at least for the development portions that we know. We have not initiated that with the traffic consultant because we want to present to the board first to get some initial feedback from them as to feelings for this type of development. So we can open up to any questions you may have at this point or answers.
Yes, please. Any questions from the commission?
So you'll be burying tanks?
Yes, there'll be buried tanks.
Okay. And thinking about environmental impact, that's significant, right?
Well, we would have to deal with DEC for any of the tank permits that are required, so we're familiar with the convenience stores and gas stations. So we follow all the DEC's requirements and NFPA requirements for locating homes adjacent to the properties.
And have you done there's no lines under where you're planning to put those tanks, right? No power, no sewer?
Nothing is indicated on the survey.
Thank you.
How many EV charging stations?
3. They're in this
3.
upper corner here. They're identified on the plan.
And then there was a communication that it could possibly sell liquor at the store?
Yes, so the separate liquor store, it wouldn't be a convenience store. It would be a separate business, separate tenant business within this building.
Where the previous liquor store was located?
The previous one was on this far side over here, it would be adjacent to the
Okay.
convenience store. They're going to have to do modifications to the building before they break it up for whatever kind of building in there. Right now, I'm not sure how it's broken up, but the indications are that this is the proposed square footage that they would break it up for the uses that they got dedicated.
Dave?
According to the documentation you gave us, 3 parking spaces are needed per 1,000 square feet of building space, correct?
That's the maximum.
Which means for the liquor store and the convenience store, you've got enough parking there, the minimum of 22, correct?
We've got 20 in the building front here.
Right.
I don't know if we can include the EV charging station.
Right. Well, that would bring it up to 29, which is more than you need.
Right.
My question is, and maybe this is for the commission, is what happens if this gets approved with the liquor store and the convenience store, and then the empty third spot, and down the road, the owner wants to put another store in there and actually gets a tenant to open a store there. What happens with the parking at that point? Does it have to go back to the city to get a variance for parking?
Robert, can you speak to that?
Generally, the planning commission has the authority to automatically approve 80, or what it says in the code is 80 to 110% of the required parking. So if he was at 80%, that's a given. You can also offer waivers for parking through the planning commission. It wouldn't be a variance.
Okay.
So you could look at what the development is and what they're expecting their needs to be and make a determination based upon that. And the hard part being, we have an undefined space
Right.
here.
But that way,
If it's
he doesn't have
if
to
it's a
come
public
back
assembly,
for-
suddenly we're going to need many more spaces. Not that you're going to do a public assembly, I'm just saying.
Okay.
But this, because it's undefined.
So he wouldn't have to come back later, or the owner
Hopefully
wouldn't have
not.
to?
I mean, I'd like
Yeah.
to figure out if we could do this without having to come
Okay.
and approve a business essentially.
Okay.
In an MU2 zone, which is, pretty much open to retail
Right.
sales and services.
Okay.
The one thing that I did, I made a count of what was out there at the site currently. And like I mentioned before, it looks like there's a total of 34 spaces that are dedicated to this. We aren't going to be increasing the size of the building, so obviously what's provided currently is below what the normal standard was for providing parking for a building that size. I don't know if they're ready.
I can speak to that. The zoning code that currently in place and the parking requirements were adopted back in 2010, well after this building went up. So I don't know what the parking requirements were prior to that.
But obviously the operation is under a lower requirement.
Anything from the commission? No? I have a few points. So retail goods and services are permitted in the MU2 zone. So obviously, that's why we're continuing with site plan application review. Upon consultation with Delaware Engineering, We are reviewing the acts to follow Article 5, design guidelines for the MU2 district, and Article 7, site plan review and approval of the city code, and provide the elements and drawings that are outlined in each, which you have done. However, given the intensity of the use, and Chris, I know that's part of the reason you guys are here, so that we can kind of take the next steps to determine, what needs to happen next. We are requiring submitting a full environmental assessment form. So you did submit initially a short form, but for now, considering these sort of issues, and I'll talk about them more in a second, we are going to require a long form. We would like to act as lead agency. I'm not going to make a motion for that this evening, but we do want to conduct a coordinate review for an unlisted action, and minimally, I think New York State DEC and DOT need to be, involved in this as we move forward. As, I'm sure you know that those agencies will be, coordinating with us as we move through. So based on the available information, I see, Delaware Engineering sees two kind of potential issues with the project. The first, obviously, is parking. So the building is 15,300 square feet?
That's including the dock area, so roughly 15,000.
Okay, so if all uses in the building are retail goods and services, then the code requires that you have 46 parking spaces. Obviously, we know that we're not meeting that right now. So, you're 20, around 20, if not, and then if we include the EV charging stations, that would bring it up to 29, but still obviously nowhere near 46. So that's an issue that I think needs to be addressed. Additionally, I think traffic, especially in that neighborhood, needs to be addressed. The addition of 3 fueling islands and 3 EV charging stations has potential to result in a significant increase in traffic in that area. And given that potential increase in traffic resulting from this project, we would recommend that you conduct a traffic study to assess the possible impacts on local road network before any final determination can be met by the Planning Commission.
So you want something more than just a trip generation, like you really want a full study for traffic?
I think so. I mean, Robert, you can maybe speak a little more to that, but
I think it warrants one. We, in the community, and this may change, we've lost several, the Rite Aids are all closed. Now everybody goes to Walgreens, and we got a bottleneck right there as it is. And adding a gas station on a corner could be impactful. How impactful, that is what we have to determine.
Okay, so we'll do full traffic study.
He's got to get closer to the mic.
can you, Robert does?
Yeah.
Robert, can you pull your mic a little bit closer so
Sure.
that we can hear you? I mean, I'll say additionally too, like I used to live in that neighborhood. Without any traffic lights right there too, pulling out of that parking lot was already difficult. I think with the increased traffic and the parking that the parking that you have on the street side, on the other side of the road there, I foresee it potentially being dangerous to pedestrians and also drivers. So I would agree with Delaware Engineering that I think a traffic study would be warranted for this project. Do we have any further comments from the commission? Anything that you'd like to ask? Chris?
What's on either side of it?
The Daily Star has their offices on one, I'm sorry, ISD has.
It's the computer.
Computer
yeah.
business, and the other side is the Moose Lodge?
It's the Elks Club.
Elks Lodge. Fraternal organization.
With that said, if you don't have any further, if the commission has no further questions, and if you have no further questions for us, Chris, I would make a motion to table this to April, give you an opportunity to go back and, look into some of these matters, maybe talk to DOT, figure out traffic study and things that we might need to proceed as we move forward.
Okay, as far as the DOT goes, I did contact them, and they don't take jurisdiction over this section of roadway. But
Okay.
I don't know if I should deal with city engineering for that, or is that something that I should still contact DOT? It's still a state highway, but they don't take jurisdiction over this section.
I think once the coordinated review is begun and they get notified, they can either not respond, or they can respond that we're not involved. My only concern, you didn't show any changes to the curb cuts, but if there were changes to the curb cuts, I imagine they would be involved. So I'm kind of a little confused about that aspect of it, but.
We have seen in a number of instances where they release jurisdiction to local cities or other entities for sections of the state highway. So we try to keep it minimal. We did get a truck in and out of there. We would take an opportunity if we did have to make improvements to widen this open down here a little bit, but it does negotiate it narrow. It's going to go through 239 reviews, obviously. It's going to go to all the meetings. So that's going to be part of the actual full site plan review package that we provide you with that.
Yep.
So for the next meeting, most likely you want to see a site plan review package.
We will, yep, and we'll want to see, we'll ultimately go through a long form versus short.
Right.
Yep, so that we can determine environmental impact.
And there, as Marcy had mentioned, there are design guidelines for the MUT district that, or guidelines, but they should be considered and incorporated where possible. What we're dealing with here is a lot that's been the way it is for however many years. It's fully impervious, but if we can incorporate some of the design guidelines into it, wherever possible, that would be good.
One other question that I did have would be the signage. Obviously, with a convenience store or the gas station, you're looking at most likely a pricing sign on there. I couldn't find anything in the sign ordinance that really indicated that type of signage was permissible for the MUT. Is that something that's allowable? I know most of the stuff we talked about, an awning sign, a wall-mounted sign, things like that. I didn't see anything for a standalone pylon or sign.
I don't recall that part of the code directly for that area, but I think most pole signs were eliminated from the code, and the city's trying to switch to more monuments type signs. But I would have to look more closely at the code to see what it's about.
That's kind of what I saw when I went through the code, and you're looking at a ground mounted sign of what we're going to want to see. So you'd be looking for something along that line.
Yeah, I mean, I would suggest that anyway. I know that in the code, obviously if you're on historic, you know, downtown on Main Street in the historic district, I know that there are different strict guidelines. So I think that they'll be a little bit more lenient on Chestnut since you're outside of the historic district. But I think that obviously we'll have to follow code, and as we move forward and you determine what signage you want, you know, we will consult with Delaware Engineering and with the code enforcement officer and be able to get you a more finite answer. Yep, I made a motion.
I'll second it.
Ready? Any further questions from the commission? Call roll.
Chairman Tucci?
Yes.
Vice Chair Risberger?
Yes.
Commissioner Lettuce?
Yes.
Commissioner Swan?
Yes.
Commissioner Parmenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Simon?
Yes.
Great.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. With that, we will move to our first order of old business. This is Richard Brown and Levitus Realty Management. John McManus, I see, is here and ready to roll. The applicant wishes to construct a fire escape on the parking lot side of the Clinton Plaza adjacent to the B-side ballroom. I will give you just a brief opportunity to update us. I know that we've gotten some new drawings, so please feel free to take it away.
I think we have some housekeeping issues. I did not come here tonight with the intent of doing this, but I think we have to have a brief conversation before we get into this application. Can I ask everyone on the board, have you seen the set plans?
Yes.
You see the
Yes.
set plans with the list on it?
Yep.
Did you see the previous set of plans without the list?
Yes.
If you submitted
Okay,
that, yes.
prior to the
Yeah.
last meeting. When those were submitted, and I got comments back, okay, from Delaware Engineering, after my meeting with folks, I was taken off the agenda. Okay. Now, when I left here 2 months ago, citing security issues in this building, and making a call as a licensed engineer that this needed to seek protected egress, I was told that the application was incomplete. What was missing from the application was a materials list. Ms. Lettuce, after I was told that I needed to come back with the materials list, pointed out that she thought this application was complete with my feedback and that we should proceed like we have with other applications and move forward with a decision, okay? Now, within the last 2 months, I provided these plans. It did not provide a materials list. That is my bad. And you know why? It's because I fell into the trap. There's a violation of the open meetings laws here, and it was between the chairman, chairwoman, and the engineer, okay? I was taken off of the agenda because my plans were deemed incomplete.
Mr. McManus, you were
Can I
taking...
please finish?
No,
Please
you were
finish.
taking off of the agenda because you did not submit the materials, not only the materials list, but multiple other
Can I finish, please?
other
Can
things
I
that we
please finish?
requested.
Am I incorrect in stating that at the last meeting that I was present at, that I asked twice after this board asked for a materials list, if that was all of your comments?
Those were all of our comments because you did not have proper drawings that you had submitted to us. And then you still
Your
have not,
comment was
and then you
to
still
get
have
to
not
provide
submitted
a
those
materials
proper,
list.
you still have
Okay.
not submitted them.
All right, we're spinning our wheels here. Let's fast forward to tonight, all right? I came here to present this based on its own merit. I do not want to get into the politics of this. I don't want to get into the local shootings in this country that are happening right now in ROTC offices. Meanwhile, you got a recruiting station over here with pictures in the window, picketers out front. They have one egress to this building. It's on an electronic lock. Now, I'm going to share things that I shared with the code office, and they should have made the determination based on my submission, which has gone to the state for an interpretation. I was hoping to have it tonight, which eliminates the board from any future decision making based on the health and life safety of the public. All right? Now, after providing all this, which was in addition to, it has materials on here, but they're actually called out and pointed to on the building. So when the list wasn't okay, I provided the list on there. So I'm here with this application tonight. But before I even came up here, I'm sitting right back there, and your engineer came back and said, they are not approving this tonight. My question to the board is, we got together and decided that this application was not going to be deemed complete because of Delaware's comments. Who on this board made that decision and then told Delaware to relay that me as a...
I made that decision.
That is a violation of the open
No, it
meeting
is
law.
not.
That's a conversation that has to
Mr.
happen.
McManus, order. You submitted materials and drawings on Monday, March 16th that still lacked the things that we were asking you for. Existing and new retaining walls, how they'll be constructed, the impact to the current site structures, relocation of the vent lines in the AC unit. Not to mention, the materials list that you submitted is not code compliant.
Full copies? These are scaled copies?
We all have that in front of us.
These are scaled copies.
I'll take one for the record.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You can have one. So what I'm saying tonight is I came up here with an application in good faith. This is a life safety issue, and you, for some reason, even though we're not impeding the public traffic in any way, what I'm asking the board to do, I'm not asking you to weigh in. I'm asking someone on this board to take an unbiased look at this application, compare it to other applications that you've looked at, then determine if this is substantially complete for review, to understand what I'm trying to build here. I even have all the stair requirements here. There's commercial stairs, I got the materials list and everything. If this is lacking in what you need as a board member to make your decision tonight, please tell me. And if the answer is, nope, I got to fall back on the information that I got from them outside of a public meeting, outside of this board's decision, then that's the answer. And I go away. And then I wait for my decision from the state, and I submit that to you. So next time, when there's a life safety issue, that a steward of the state I am the only one culpable in this room. He is the other one. And then anyone that's licensed with a code, that has a code certificate in this room is considered a steward of the state. Unfortunately, I've determined that the safety of that building is so atrocious that I can't rob this. I will take this as high as it goes. And in the meantime, I am telling the board, if you don't take an unbiased look at this, and you don't gut up and act as an individual board member, then I don't know where this is going to go, but I'm going to walk out of this. The information's been submitted to the state. We can see where it lands. But I'm asking for you guys to review this application based on what was discussed last time, determine if it's complete, not complete, and then move forward. That's what I ask. I'm done. Thank you.
Mr. McManus, are you aware that the materials that you noted in your updated plans are not approved under the form-based code for the MU1 district?
Explain this to me, please. Have some conversation with me instead of him, and then send it to Julie to then send it to me. I still don't have a comment letter with your signature, your letterhead, and nothing. I have emails that are passed through third party.
Have you read the city code?
Can you break this down to me and
Yes,
tell me
I
what
can.
I'm missing?
You noted that the exterior stairs would be clad in 29 gauge standard rib siding. That is not approved material under the form-based MU1 code.
What's approved then?
Can you
As far as
enlighten
metal
us,
siding.
Robert?
Could you answer that?
If you bring in a sample, the planning commission has the authority to look at certain metal
So when I
sidings.
go around this
but there are-
city and
there's a
Please let him-
list
please
on
let
the
him
website.
finish.
There's an MU1 form-based code which spells out exactly why is this building in that form-based
Thank
code?
you.
I can't
I'm
answer
asking the
that.
board- I'm asking the board.
Yes.
Someone on this board to make a motion to discuss this.
Yes, okay. Are there questions from the commission?
I'd like someone to make a motion to do
You
this
do not get to ask us to make a motion. I'm sorry.
That's what has to be done for me to walk out the room and complete this application.
Do we have questions from the commission?
Mr. McManus, I'm new to the board. Can you just give me some context into what you're trying to accomplish and just bullet points, if you can?
My client came here last year, came to the code office. You have a code officer that's acting as his zoning officer. He reviewed the application, he approved the stairs. He was given a permit to construct.
There's no record of that.
The record is on the ground it's...
No, there's no record of the
There's no
permit.
record,
You're
there's
saying
no
when
record
you're
of that permit
Okay.
at the city
Are you
office.
saying that's why you rescinded this permit and 8 others? Is that why?
I'm not speaking to any other permit. I'm
We're gonna
speaking
spin
to
our
this
wheels.
project
So,
specifically.
all I'm asking for is a second egress from the recruiting station that's been in this city
Yep.
for 30-plus years. There's a code reason for it. I submitted a letter to the code office after I got the resistance from this board, and that has gone to the state for an interpretation. Essentially what it says is a licensed engineer, based on the specific use of an occupancy, mostly B occupancy, which are businesses, offices, things like that, recruiting stations, sheriff's office, things like that, okay? That, if you only have one egress from, and you have a potential for, let's say, a live shooter, and I'm not making this stuff up, guys. These guys have an electronic lock on their main entrance. They have one exit from this building. That electronic lock has malfunctioned in the past and locked them in the building with no way out. We have unoperable windows. We have no second egress from this. So what the state allows is a licensed engineer, based on the specific use of the building, to make an additional determination.
Correct me if I'm wrong,
The
but
only one that can deny that.
correct me if I'm wrong, but was there not a second egress to this building in the past?
No, it's locked. It goes through a separate use. It's not even part of it. What I was trying to skirt around, but now it's so forefront in the news, is we have a serious safety issue here. You let picketers outside of that building. You're going to sit here and tell me that this application has no validity? You're telling me you're going to send me that because you want to see, you want to see a sample of the siding, I'll tell you what, make a condition, approve all the materials for this, for the structure itself, I'll take the siding off, I'll come back with the materials for the siding, we'll put up whatever siding we want. Make it a condition of approval. In the meantime, we need to get these stairs built so we can get these people out of the building, otherwise you are going to lose your accreditation.
Mr. McManus, this is the second time you've come here and tried to strong-arm the planning commission.
I'm not strong-arming you. I'm
You are
telling
trying.
the law.
You are trying.
Can you give me?
I will tell
a
you
reason
this.
Why this?
I will tell you this. This goes beyond the materials which do not meet the form-based code. This is also about existing and new retaining walls. Can you tell me?
No, we're not, it's on here, it's on here.
Okay, so
For site
explain
plan-
that to me.
What-
Please, I'm asking you. Please
there's-
explain that to me.
There's a section, a cross-section.
How will they be constructed? What's the impact to the current
right
site
here,
structures?
Right here, it's a small retaining structure as part of the foundation. It's just going to be poured in place right where it is.
So you're
We're
not
changing anything.
So you're not changing the existing retaining wall at all?
No, we're not getting into it. No, this new building is acting as its own retaining wall. I'm not getting into the retaining wall, I'm not getting into the right-of-way, I'm not getting into the sidewalk, none of that was proposed.
What about the relocation of the vent lines and AC unit?
That's not a site plan issue. I'll go through that with the code office. But relocating mechanicals is not, you don't have say over that. I'm sorry to say, but I need to get final site plan review for me to move forward with final design.
And we oversee environmental reviews, so if
That's
it's...
fine, but this is
so if
not
it-
under seeker. So if you want to bring up an environmental review, you better get your attorney involved. If you
Our-
want- if you
our
want to go
attorney
down
is
the
involved.
throw your spitball here, but this is a type 2 action. We already determined that. No review under seeker. There is no environmental review here.
Robert, what is your recommendation?
It seems to me the drawings that were requested are going to be needed to construct it.
Yes, absolutely. And once I get site plan approval, my client will pay for that.
So
And I
why
will
not, so why
submit
not
that
just
to the
produce the
board.
drawings?
Because
You
who
could have
knows-
produced those 2 months ago.
I'm asking the
And you're
board,
sitting
I
here
am not
doing
having
all
this
this
conversation.
exercise.
This is
Can you
what-
stop interrupting?
Right.
No, I'm
It's-
not having.
We've
this
listened, long enough, let's let him talk.
This
I know this is
commission,
hard.
based on the understanding of what you want to do, is 100% behind it, right? We are 100% behind it. As a 40-year engineer, what you lack on here is a minimal amount of detail to understand how are you going to support the existing, you've got that existing transformer unit, you've got a retaining wall,
I'm
it's going up
sorry.
against,
I gotta
I'm
tell you.
speaking, please.
I'm sorry, but I am not going through a verbal review with the engineer.
Mr. McManus.
We've asked these questions. It's really simple,
I have,
right?
I know what they are.
So why don't you
We
just
don't
produce
have
the
them.
drawings? Just produce the drawings. You could have them done.
If
Then
you-
we're going to make a motion to review this
If,
application.
if
based
you
on
have the
what-
materials, why have you not submitted them to the planning board?
Anyone, does anyone want to make a motion to even consider this?
I think I'm considering it right now through this
I
discussion.
need a motion
I
to
don't-
actually
I
consider
don't
this
think-
complete application.
Let me be very clear, Mr. McManus. I don't think that anyone on this planning board wants to deny your project. I know that you think that, but that's not the intention here. We are simply asking for materials and drawings, and you have not submitted them.
You are misinterpreting where I'm coming from. I am here as a steward of the state, and you have a serious health and life safety issue, and you are holding it up over materials when you could easily move forward. And when I submit my FOIA request, and if I find any project is submitted without material samples, then we've got discrimination. So, how far do you want to go with this? Can you guys consider this a complete application?
The materials,
Without materials list. I'm putting that
well, you did
aside.
submit a materials list, and the materials are not under the form-based code.
You tell me which one of those, 29-gauge steel is not allowed? Show me where that's under the form-based code. Wood's not allowed, metal casting.
Can I show you? Would you like to see?
No.
No?
I'm
You sure?
asking you
I
specifically.
got it right here. I can show you. You asked for it, I have it.
You would have had your chance.
That's not how this works.
So you don't really care.
Yes, unfortunately it is.
No, it's not.
Oh,
I'm going to make a motion to table this application until April.
Thank you. Is there a
I'll
second on that?
second.
Everyone, yes? Vote?
You're not
That's
running
my
this
job.
meeting, please.
Yeah, that's my role, thanks.
Thank you.
Chairman Cucci?
Any further question from the commission?
I just would like to get copies of the email so that I understand what our engineers were asking, because I don't know that information. So I wanted more explanation about that.
I think Robert and Dave can easily send the additional list of materials that they requested from Mr. McManus.
I also would say that I don't understand necessarily the discrepancy of materials and what constitutes the application being incomplete versus complete.
Alex, that's a great question.
Yeah.
All of those materials are listed under the city code. You can go in, you can easily look them up, you can see what is permissible and what is not. The materials that were suggested on this application are not acceptable under the ME1 code.
Okay.
Can I just know what that is, just so I know?
I would like to know that. What material?
Sure. Robert, please.
Would you like me to read the
No,
list
just
of
tell me which
materials?
one. Just tell me which one.
Why don't you just say?
29 gauge rib steel sheet metal siding is not permissible.
Tell us what it is.
Okay.
This is not open for public comment. We won't be hearing anything from the audience.
We're back to ground zero with this. Now, you're.
Okay.
There's a motion.
Order, motion made. Seconded by Chairman
Ensuring the
Risberger.
health and life safety of the public, and I'm putting this-
That's not what we are doing, Mr. McManus. We are simply doing what we need to do to conform to the city code. That is our role and that is what we do. We would do the same thing for you as we would with any other applicant. Call roll, please.
Chair McCutcheon?
Yes.
Vice Chair Risberger?
Yes.
Commissioner Lettis?
I'm abstaining.
Commissioner Swan?
Yes.
Commissioner Parmenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Simon?
Yes.
Passes.
Moving on. Third order of business, rehabilitative support services. This is an ongoing case. I'm sure why many of you are here this evening. The applicant is proposing the construction of a 3-story, 61-unit affordable housing project known as Solstice Commons to be located at 164 River Street in Oneonta. The building will occupy the northern portion of the 6.5-acre tax parcel lot. The project proposes to subdivide the southern portion of the parcel as is in their site plan. Before we get going, it's been, I think, quite a while since the Planning Commission has heard anything from RSS. So given that we had the public hearing last month, I think I'd like to give an opportunity to update the Planning Commission to the changes that have been made in that site plan since then, given the consultation with Delaware Engineering and requests from the city, and also to obviously address perhaps some of the comments that were made in the public hearing last month. I will pass it over to you, Christine.
Thank you again. Can we give you a mic so that it's on the record?
You can have
Like
this
more
one.
clearly?
Thank you
You
again.
can take it. Yep, take it with you.
Just the mic, and then I can.
Whatever you like. There you go.
Thank you again. I am going to pass this off to both Betsy Brugg, our land use attorney, and Shelby from Labella Engineering to discuss what we have done since the public hearing. That includes a vast number of activities to weave in things that we heard during the public hearing. But I do want to, again, thank you. I know this is challenging and it's late and it's a Wednesday night, so thank you for your time.
And actually, Christine, just really quick, because we are referring to the public hearing, before we begin, would just like to make a motion to close the public hearing, as was announced at our last Planning Commission meeting. That also includes public comment and any public correspondence. The deadline for that was extended to March 10th. Everything that has been taken has been received, it's been read, and it is in the public record, and I will make that motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Questions from the commission? And call roll.
Chair McCutcheon?
Yes.
Vice Chair Risberger?
Yes.
Commissioner Lettis?
Yes.
Commissioner Swan?
Yes.
Commissioner Parmenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Simon?
Yes.
Okay, Christine, take it away.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I guess I'll start by saying thank you for having us tonight. We were looking back at our schedule and realized we've been working on this project for quite a few months, and we appreciate all the engagement we've had on behalf of the city, outside of the several public meetings and the public hearing that we attended. We've also had multiple meetings with staff. We've had to work through a lot of different issues. Even since the last public hearing, Shelby will update you on even the work that went on between the public hearing and tonight. We have a complete application in for site plan approval, and we require subdivision. We have submitted not only the application materials, but we've been responding to the various comments from staff, the Planning Commission, agencies, submitting reports, submitting information, kind of going through the nitty-gritty of the review process to address, I believe, every substantive issue related to the site plan. So I think we've pretty much covered all that material, but Shelby will touch on some of that. From a procedural standpoint, as the Planning Commission might remember from a few months ago, you did declare your intent to be lead agency for purposes of the seeker review, and I believe you've been going through that review process and collecting all of the information necessary to make an environmental determination. I think we've submitted everything that would be required in order to secure a negative declaration for purposes of seeker. That would be the next step in the process. We did have the public hearing, which occurred at the last meeting. We did hear a lot of comments. There were a lot of really meaningful, impactful comments I think that we all took to heart and heard. Many of them were very emotional. We appreciate that this project matters to people for a lot of different reasons. Many of those comments, of course, did not relate specifically to the site plan. We did not actually hear a lot of issues related to, the site plan necessarily. I think that we have really no loose ends to address, but I'm going to turn it over to Shelby. She can update you on the meetings that have occurred since the last meeting. The Planning Commission has already seen the revisions that were submitted, I think, back at December, in response to kind of the biggest chunk of comments we received. Shelby?
Sure, and then just a high-level overview of what we've done since we were here last year in February. So we were at the public hearing, and then a week or two after that, we received another round of comments from Delaware Engineering and the city. We went through those as a design team and then met with city staff, Delaware Engineering, and the fire chief to run through all of those and determine how we wanted to best address everything. After that, Christine and I met with the head of transportation to work through the bus stop question that had come up. And the transportation department is happy to put in a bus stop there. We included that in our response letter. We'll have a stop there, and we're going to work through the intricacies of what that stop looks like. I believe we're going to do a bench, not a full-on shelter based on their needs. And then from there, we responded to the city with responses to all of those comments. And supplied some additional information that had been asked for. Some of those items included the life safety plan, some documentation on the floodplain. We raised the finished floor to deal with some of the issues with the 500-year floodplain. We submitted a few environmental items that we had, but just to get everything back in one place, wetland determination, some information on the endangered species that we had gotten from the DEC to kind of close some of the loops that had been open still. And then other than that, I think that's, meeting with city staff, meeting with transportation, and then responding to all the comments that we had received in the, I believe it was a March 2nd memo. And then I think that's really all the updates on our end. Certainly we can go into, any specific questions on things that we've updated on the plan, but it's kind of the high level of what we've submitted since we've last been in front of everyone.
So as I think we all know, we'll be going through Seeker Part 2 this evening. We're going to put it up on the projector so that everyone can see us move line through line. But I do want to give the commission an opportunity to ask any questions that they might have currently. It's okay if you don't. We can also ask questions as we move through Seeker and, as things, materials and updates are potentially introduced to you, you'll also have an opportunity to ask questions. But if there's anything outstanding right now that you'd like to address, please feel free.
Additional materials were submitted to today?
No.
Okay.
They were submitted prior to March 1st. And these are the updated materials from RSS, given continued conversations with our consultants, Delaware Engineering, and the City Code Enforcement Office in order to request additional materials or surveys from RSS and those materials that they have submitted. And all of those materials are available and updated on the City of Oneonta website, open to the public as well as open to the commission.
This is a part 2 of how many parts?
3.
3. We're
Part
just doing
3
2.
parts.
Okay.
We're just doing 2. I also make that clear to the audience this evening that no decisions tonight will be made for RSS. We are trying to be as transparent as possible, move through every question of environmental review and the seeker form and FEEF one by one, so that everyone can see that we are being transparent and we are going through this as well as all of you. Although this is not open to public comment, we are trying to be as transparent as we can possibly be with you as we move through this process. With that said, if there are no questions from the commission, I think we should move forward with seeker part 2, and I will hand it off to Robert and Dave. Take it away. Oh, Robert, do you want me to read these comments before we get started? Do you think that would be helpful?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so these are comments that have been submitted to us upon consultation with Delaware Engineering before we get started. Again, this is for seeker. We are the lead agency in this project, the Oneonta City Planning Commission. And this is, again, for the applicant Rehabilitation Support Services, otherwise known as RSS. An evaluation of the magnitude and importance of the project impacts a determination of significance. That's ultimately the end game and what we're trying to get to here. In order to do that, we have to move through seeker part 2, which you can momentarily see behind you. The part 3 narrative, which is something that we will read through as we continue through part 2, is including whether or not the proposed action could or has the potential to result in an adverse environmental impact. So for the action, the applicant is proposing, again, to build a 61-unit apartment building with on-site parking for RSS clients. The action is proposed in the R3 high-density residential district and is permitted use under the local zoning code. Again, that is why this is not with the zoning board and why it is with the planning commission. 31 of the units will be reserved for individuals that are classified as having serious mental illness or SMI, with the remaining units reserved for income-eligible individuals and families. This is a supportive housing community and clients voluntarily engage with RSS to receive support services. The following provides a summary of the Part 2 FEEF based on project information provided by the applicant. So again, these are comments that we will read through with both Dave and Robert with Delaware Engineering as we move through Part 2 FEEF. Comments received from potentially involved agencies, communications with the applicant, city and citizens, and related parties will all be incorporated into these comments as we read them, with impacts assessed relative to New York State DEC Full Environmental Assessment Form. That is what FEEF stands for, workbook. So again, this was prepared by both Robert and Dave, and we will get started.
Before we begin, so as we're going through this, if questions pop into your head, feel free to butt in and ask them.
Thank you.
This is a lot of information we're going to go through now. And so we are going to try to move through it, but Dave, which part do you want? Take the question?
Yeah, I'll read basically what's shown here. The part 2 is a document that's basically 10 pages in length. You've got 18 items in here. We'll go through 18 of those, and at each of these cases, you'll see the main box that says yes or no. So in a case where there's a yes, then there's some need to provide some explanation on that. In the case where there's a no, there's really no need to provide an explanation. But in this narrative that follows, we've provided an explanation even if the answer was no to the initial question for all of these 18. I think it's a backdrop to this. We are members of the community. We've been at all the meetings. We hear what you're saying. we've worked with the city and with the applicant in a really cooperative manner to try to address everybody's concerns as best could be possible. We're city residents, just like you, right? We understand that. We understand the needs of this, and there's a balance. There's guidelines that the city has to follow, and again, we're a law-abiding community that works through that with the city, and we've worked through this to the best of the abilities with the comments and all the guidelines. So we use that as a backdrop, right? We're not here to twist this in any way, and we'll go through this as best we can and move through it. Impact on land. Proposed action may require construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site. Obviously, we're going to do a construction project, but basically all of these items are marked no or small impact because they don't qualify or go above thresholds that are in the guidance document, but we'll talk about them anyway.
We are not open to public comment. Public comment is closed, I'm sorry.
Item A, the proposed action may involve construction on land where depth to water table is less than 3 feet, and that may or may not occur depending on the time of year when it's happened, but that can be mitigated by construction activities. The proposed action may involve construction slopes greater than 15% or greater, basically not, that the slopes on the site are less than that. The proposed action may involve construction on land where bedrock is exposed or generally within 5 feet of existing ground surface, and the answer to that is no, because we're down in the river valley and they've done borings. The proposed...
Are you going to sell your house? Are you going to sell your house, Gary?
The proposed action may involve the excavation or removal of more than 1,000 tons of natural material and moved off-site. It will not. Proposed action may involve construction that continues for more than 1 year or multiple phases. And to that point, the construction is scheduled to happen for 18 months, but it will not happen in multiple phases. And that's not an uncommon project for anyone that's involved in any major construction to have a project that's more than 18 months. The proposed action may result in increased erosion, whether from physical disturbance or vegetative removal, including treatment by herbicides. The answer to that is no. There's a stormwater pollution prevention plan under the New York State regulations that has been produced, and that'll be complied with during construction to mitigate anything associated with erosion. The proposed action is or may be located within a coastal erosion hazard area, and it is not. And other impacts were no or small.
Okay, so in order to minimize the impacts of the existing undeveloped, mostly forested space, the applicant has proposed construction of a 3-story building. Sure. As opposed to a 2-story structure which would have a much larger footprint for the same cost-effective level of occupancy. The proposed action will be located on a vacant 6.4-acre parcel that has no visible signs of previous disturbance. The action will involve physical alteration of the land's surface. The parcel is relatively flat with 0 to 10% slope. It's anticipated to be completed in a single phase lasting 18 months. While greater than 1 acre of land will be disturbed, a stormwater pollution prevention plan has been prepared as required by New York State. Since none of the impact thresholds identified by the New York State DEC Seeker Workbook will be exceeded, the magnitude of the impact for all the land items has been determined to be no or small, and therefore, based on the review conducted of the information provided, the proposed action will not result in a significant adverse environmental impact to the land.
Anyone have any questions?
Questions from the commission so far?
Okay, we'll move to number 2. I'm sorry, number 4. Flipped my page too far. 1, 2, 1. Impact on geological features. The proposed action may result in the modification or destruction of or inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms on the site. Cliffs, dunes, mineral fossils, caves. And the answer is no, because there are not any geological features that would qualify for under these items.
I can't get that page up. It's not your fault.
Is it the clicker? I think it's the user. Oh.
There we go.
Robert, stop clicking.
And the Part 3 narrative which Robert has is there are no geological features on the project site that may be impacted by this project, and therefore the proposed action will not have a significant adverse impact on geological features. Impacts on surface water. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or surface water bodies, e.g. streams, ponds, lakes. And the answer to this is yes. Looking through the items, the proposed action may create a new water body. The answer is no. The proposed action may result in an increase or decrease of over 10% or more of the 10-acre more than a 10-acre increase or decrease in the surface area of body water. It's no. Proposed action may involve dredging more than 100 cubic yards of material from a wetland or water body. The answer is no. Proposed action may involve construction within or adjoining a freshwater wetland, adjoining a freshwater or tidal wetland, or in bed or banks of any other water body. And the answer to that is no. Proposed action may create turbidity in a water body from upland erosion, runoff, or sediment basins. No, the proposed action may include construction of one or more intakes for withdrawal of water from a surface water. No, the proposed action may include construction of one or more outfalls for the discharge of wastewater to surface water. That's no. Proposed action may cause soil erosion or otherwise create a source of stormwater discharge that may lead to siltation or other degradation of receiving water bodies. The answer is no. Proposed action may affect water quality of any water bodies within or downstream of the site of the proposed action. No. Proposed action may involve application of pesticides or herbicides in or around a water body. No. And the proposed action may require construction or expansion of existing wastewater treatment, new or wastewater treatment facilities. And the answer to that is no. Now, part 4 was checked yes, and that's part of the explanation.
So, part 3.
Part 3.
Impacts on surface water. This topic was determined to be yes because the project site does contain wetlands. The nearest surface water body is the Susquehanna River, located 1,500 feet from the project site on the opposite side of I-88. So there will be no impacts to the Susquehanna. A New York State wetland has been identified on the project site. A formal assessment of the wetland has been conducted by the New York State DEC, and a freshwater wetland jurisdictional determination has been made. The site plan includes a 100-foot buffer area surrounding the wetland, and no construction is proposed for this area of parcel. Therefore, the proposed action will have no impact to the wetland. Since no impact thresholds have been exceeded for all other items, it's been determined that the action will have no or small impact. Therefore, based on the review conducted of the information provided, the proposed action will not result in a significant adverse environmental impact on surface water.
Questions from the commission?
Yeah, can you disclose additionally how you came to some of these conclusions in terms of the action may require, proposed action may affect the water quality of any water bodies within the downstream of the site of the proposed action? Like how did you come to some of this stuff?
In regards to that one specifically,
yeah.
From a construction standpoint, the applicant has to prepare a stormwater pollution prevention plan that basically controls erosion and sediment from the construction as well as after construction. And basically that SWIP goes through a bunch of calculations, and there's facilities that basically ensures that there's no net increase in runoff from the facility from a volume standpoint, while at the same time addressing any possible erosion that could occur either during construction or after, in accordance with the New York State guidance manuals.
So your overall assessment was yes, but you're saying no to small, you're saying it could be small impact?
It's no or small because of the mitigating measures, the SWIP, the adjacent to the wetlands, the buffers, and those sorts of things. That's why it's checked yes, because there is wetlands there.
Right.
But the impact is either no or small.
Okay.
Good questions. Number 4 is the impact on groundwater. Proposed action may result in new or additional use of groundwater or may have the potential to introduce contaminants to groundwater or an aquifer. This is checked yes, basically, just to circumvent this, basically because they are going to require water and they are going to require wastewater, right? So that's the reason why this was checked yes, but we'll go through A through G. Proposed action may require new water supply wells or create additional demand on supplies from existing water supply wells. It's marked no because while it will create an additional demand, it's estimated at less than 10,000 gallons a day, which the city DPW has assured us that's within the capabilities of the current system. Water supply demand from the proposed action may exceed safe and sustainable withdrawal capacity rate of the local supply or aquifer. The answer is no for the same explanation. The proposed action may allow or result in residential uses in areas without water and sewer services. It will serve this lot because it's not currently in use, but there's water and sewer service that's really closely adjacent to that area. Proposed action may include or require wastewater discharge to groundwater. The answer is no. The wastewater would go to the wastewater treatment plant, which then gets treated and flows into the Susquehanna per the Speedy's permit. Proposed action may result in construction of water supply wells in locations where groundwater is or is suspected to be contaminated. The answer to that is no. Proposed action may require bulk storage of petroleum or chemical products over groundwater or an aquifer. And the answer is no, because there's no bulk storage of petroleum or chemical proposed. Proposed action may involve commercial application of pesticides within 100 feet of a potable drinking water or irrigation sources, and the answer to that is no.
On-site water for both domestic use and fire protection will be provided by the City of Oneonta Municipal Water Supply. The action is anticipated to generate approximately 8,900 gallons of additional demand per day. Similarly, the action is anticipated to generate approximately 8,900 gallons of wastewater per day. These estimates are in accordance with New York State DE standards for estimating domestic water use. The City of Oneonta has determined that the community water supply is sufficient to accommodate the water demand, and the city wastewater treatment plant has adequate capacity to treat the additional demand. No additional wells will need to be drilled to supplement the city water supply. In addition, there will be no on-site storage of both petroleum or chemical products that could impact the groundwater. In summary, the impact of the proposed action has been identified as no or small, since guidance manual thresholds will not be exceeded. Therefore, based on the review conducted with the information provided, the proposed action will not result in a significant adverse environmental impact on groundwater.
Questions from the commission?
The city is confident that the infrastructure of the city can support not only the building itself, but the construction of the building, but once the building is up and running.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, consultation with DPW occurred on multiple occasions, and they provided that answer.
Okay.
You had mentioned 10,000 gallons per day as a high end of anticipated use. What's the maximum threshold that would make that a yes checkbox instead of a no?
That's a great question.
Thanks.
I do not have that. I do not have that answer. Okay.
But 10,000 isn't it?
No.
Do you know if it's near that?
It's not. You'd have to have more than 200,000.
So it's close, is what you're saying? No. Thank you, audience. Gavel next time.
I'm not the audience, I'm the city attorney.
Oh, never mind. Excuse me. Hi, I'm Ryan.
And protect you against abuse of people.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you
All good questions.
for your service. Thank you. Moving on.
Impact on flooding. The proposed action may result in development on land subject to flooding. And this box is checked yes. And the short answer to this is that recently, the New York State Building Code has been revised to address building within a 500-year floodplain. That happened this year. So historically, this would not have even been an issue because this property is not within a 100-year floodplain, but it does lie within a 500-year floodplain. So the proposed action may result in development in a designated floodway, and it's checked no or small. The proposed action may result in development within a 100-year floodplain, and that basically is a no. The proposed action may result in development within a 500-year floodplain, and that's checked as moderate to large impact may occur, just because it is something that's a threshold. These are the only two items in the whole Part 2 that are moderate to large, right? And the proposed action may result or require modification of existing drainage patterns, and that's checked yes, basically because, but that's going to be addressed by several factors, including the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. Proposed action may change floodwater flows that contribute to flooding, and the answer to that is no or small. If there's a dam located on the site of the proposed action, is the dam in need of repair or upgrade, and there is no dam. So the answer to that one is no, and then the other impacts was checked no.
So the 6.4 acre parcel is partially located in the 500-year floodplain. historically, this area in the 6th Ward was not located in the flood zone. I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but you really should be. The 6th Ward was partially in the flood zone 15 years ago. After that, the Army Corps came along and disqualified the dike that's in Newa Park where the floodgates are and I-88 as a levee. And there's been an ongoing, I don't want to call it argument, discussion about what the impacts might be, because they are real impacts. Sydney, the I-88 down in Sydney blew out several years ago. I don't remember the year now. So nevertheless, now, I've seen multiple flood maps. They've put 6th Ward in the 100-year, they've taken it out of the 100-year, they've put it in the 500-year, but right now, as of now, it's in the 500-year floodplain. The New York State Building Code regulates construction activities and requires that new construction in the floodplain is able to withstand potential area flood loads. So it's not that you can't build there, you just have to build recognizing there might be an issue with the flood load. The 2025 Building Code now applies to construction in the 500-year floodplain. To mitigate the possibility of flood damage, the finished first floor must be at least 1 foot above the 500-year base flood elevation. This is indicated in the site plans, will need to be confirmed at the time of construction. So once that slab is poured, presumably, someone would have to come in, a surveyor would need to come in and shoot that elevation and confirm that. While the impervious coverage of the site will increase, the SWIP, Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, has been prepared for the project, and the site plan includes adequate stormwater features such that there will be no net increase in stormwater runoff from the site. According to the site plans, the building will have a finished first floor elevation at least 1 foot above the 500-year elevation, as determined by the 2017 FEMA flood insurance study prepared for the Susquehanna River. Overall, of the 7 sub-items, 2 items indicate the potential for moderate to large impacts, including development in the 500-year floodplain and modification to existing drainage patterns. Item 5C is adequately mitigated, that's the 500-year floodplain one, as the building's first floor will be raised at least 1 foot above the estimated 500-year base flood elevation. Item 5D, related to drainage patterns, drainage pattern modifications will be mitigated by the site work included in the SWIP, which requires that there be no net increase in post-construction runoff. All other flood-related sub-items have been determined to have no or small impacts. As such, the proposed action should not increase the likelihood of area flooding, either on or off-site, and the overall magnitude of the action will be small to none. Therefore, based on this review conducted on the information provided, the proposed action will not result in a significant adverse impact related to flooding.
Questions from the commission? Hearing none, please proceed.
Okay, number 6, Robert, right?
Yep.
Flick your flicker. One, keep going, there we go.
I don't know where I'm supposed to be pointing this.
Up there. There you go. Number 6, impact to air. It's checked as no. The proposed action may include a state-regulated air emission source, and the answer to that is no. Proposed action is basically no, and all of these are basically marked no, because none of these thresholds will have any action of being reached. So basically, there's no boxes there. They could be checked as all, but basically, they're all no.
The proposed action is not anticipated to have a significant impact on air quality. Increased emissions from construction activities are expected. However, any impact will be temporary and be no greater than an impact from similar projects. Emission levels are not anticipated to exceed established safe thresholds either during the construction phase or after project completion. Therefore, based upon the review conducted on the information provided, the proposed action will not result in a significant adverse environmental impact on air quality.
Questions from the commission? I'm going to make a motion to make, oh, I don't need a motion. We're going to take a 5-minute break. Chair has to go to the bathroom.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
just froze.
I did burn. He didn't leave his one, he left his. You good?
Just because I can send you a better There's like 150 small impacts. One stretch is small, that's stretching out. Now, I don't know who No, the workbook will have that question and explain what they're looking at, why they're looking
Yeah, just because it's 12, it doesn't make it a moderate to large impact. All of a sudden, bang, this is this thing that says we can't do this. Because,
Hey.
I understand.
Nice to meet you. Just so you know, the meetings are not as intact.
Oh, good.
So it's not the large
Yeah, it was it. He didn't have to be that negative.
But follow the work. Absolutely.
Really? He doesn't own the building, right? He manages it?
This is a one-size-fits-all.
He doesn't.
It's one of those where...
Oh, okay.
I'm better now. Good. Yes.
Well, it's left to the reviewers to make
Intense guy.
whether something that's over 12 months really is impact.
Yeah, that wasn't a no. It was just.
You're going to have some construction sites and zoning it's like building a house. So,
Doing my best here.
no, it's a really bona fide question because this is not like a 5-minute exercise.
What part of the city do you live in?
Check, yes, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Third ward?
Third ward. How about you?
The 7th ward. We bought the Raptors place.
John Rath? I served on the council.
So you try to
We have one more minute.
try to use common
Musical
sense.
guy.
Yes. Good guy.
Yeah, music sheets and.
He's missed. I'm glad that it's
We're trying.
Yeah, so
So you came in from, where'd you move in from?
We were up in Utica. My wife lives in Binghamton, and she's been in the city system. She works in city HR. I was working in the city, but now I work at a college foundation in college.
You guys ready?
yeah.
I figured we all needed a little break. I need
You need to stand up after, when it gets to be the 1.5
I
hour
don't
mark.
teach.
You gotta move.
No,
I needed a little break.
I need to.
So So, yeah. I thought,
Yes, you may, Jeff.
because I knew this was such a high I saw online at Rome, doing something really cool. And I was like, you know what? Once this behind us, there could be some
You ready, Dave?
Most of what we deal with are
All right, we're going to come back to it.
Avoid these buttons down here. These arrows are their own individual buttons. So you're on
We left off on question number 7.
Yeah, we're going to-
Impacts on plants and animals.
Item 7, the proposed action may result in loss of flora and fauna, and it's checked yes. Obviously, you've got a partially forested site right now. There's going to be some clearing and development in order to develop the site, so it's marked yes. The proposed action may cause reduction in population or loss of individuals of any threatened or endangered species as listed by the New York State or federal government that use the site or found on or over or near the site. And basically, all of these are checked, no or small impact, and there'll be some good explanation in the narrative that helps us to get there. So just bear with us here. Proposed action may result in reduction, degradation of any habitat used by any rare, threatened, or endangered species as listed by New York State or the federal government. And the answer is no to small. Proposed action may cause reduction in population or loss of individuals of any species of concern or conservation need as listed by New York State or the federal government that use the site or are found on, over, or near the site. No is no or small impact. Proposed action may result in reduction or degradation of any habitat used by any species of special concern and conservation need as listed by New York State or the federal government, and that's no or small impact. And then we flip the page. The proposed action may diminish the capacity of a registered natural landmark to support the biological community it was established to protect. The answer is no or small. Proposed action may result in removal or ground disturbance, any proportion of a designated significant natural community, and its box is checked as no or small. Proposed action may substantially interfere with nesting, breeding, foraging, or overwintering habitat for predominant species that occupy or use the site, and it's no or small. Proposed action may requires the conversion of more than 10 acres of forest, grassland, or other regionally or locally important habitat, and it's checked as no or small. Proposed action, commercial, industrial, residential projects only, involves the use of herbicides or pesticides, and that's checked no, and other impacts is checked no or small.
The New York State DEC and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service identified 3 species of animals that may occur in the proposed project location. First is the eastern hellbender. It's a variety of salamander. It's a New York State species of special concern. The second was the northern long-eared bat, is federally endangered, and the third was the monarch butterfly, which is proposed to be as threatened, so it's not been listed yet. As part of the secret coordinated review, the New York State DEC Regional Permit Office, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and the New York State Natural Heritage Program were provided the project information with a request for additional information and consultation. The DEC provided a letter stating that it has, quote, no record of rare state-listed animals or plants or other significant natural communities at the project site. A habitat survey report prepared by Labella Engineering and provided to the city in March 2026, and based on a field study conducted back in June 2025, did not identify habitat on the project site that could support either the monarch butterfly or the eastern hellbender. While no roosts or hibernacula for the northern long-eared bat were identified, the report did recommend that to avoid potential direct impacts to roosting northern long-eared bats, tree removals should occur between November 1st and March 31st of any given year, and this is by recommendation of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The development will involve clearing of existing trees and vegetation, and it's recognized that this will alter some of the current potential habitat. However, the 3-story structure was chosen as it minimizes the amount of site clearing and serves to maintain a maximum amount of potential habitat and site buffering. In addition, the wetland adjacent to the planned area of development will remain unchanged. Overall, while these species may be included in the various listings, it is anticipated that any impacts on these species would be small to none. Therefore, based on the review conducted, the information provided, the proposed action will not result in significant adverse environmental impact on any listed plants or animals.
Questions from the commission? Hearing none, we'll proceed.
Number 8, impact on agricultural resources. The box was checked no because the project is not located in an agricultural district nor adjacent to any agricultural uses and will have little or no, basically no impact to the agricultural resources. So that one's a no all the way through. Number 9, impact on aesthetic resources. The land use of the proposed action are obviously different from or are in sharp contrast to current land pattern uses between the proposed project and a scenic and aesthetic resource. And the answer to these are no, without having to run through all the rest of these. In essence, this is about the site being visible from a designated scenic or aesthetic resource. In other words, if you're in a national park or you see certain things, and that's really what the number 9 is about. So while there are none of those that are designated that would be within the view shed, this is a no. Impact on historic and archaeological resources. The proposed action may occur in or adjacent to historic or archaeological resources. The answer's yes, and we'll go through these. Basically, all these are no or small, and then there'll be some in the narrative that helps you understand that. Proposed action may occur wholly or partially within or substantially contiguous to any buildings, archaeological site or district which is listed on the National or State Register of Historic Places, or that has been determined by the Commissioner of New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation to be eligible for listing on the State Register of Historic Places. And the answer to that is no or small impact. Proposed action may occur wholly or partially within or substantially contiguous to an area designated as sensitive for archaeological sites on the New York State Historical Preservation Office Archaeological Site Inventory, and that's no or small. Proposed action may occur wholly or partially within or substantially contiguous to an archaeological site not included on the SHPO inventory, and the answer is no. Other impacts are 7, 8, 9, 6, 10, those are no. They're just left blank.
So just a little background on how this works is a lot of Oneonta, because of our heritage, the American Indian heritage, a lot of Oneonta is labeled as sensitive for archaeological resources. So what happens is when you want to do a project, you contact New York State Historic Preservation Office and you explain the project, and they go through the record and see whether there's a record of artifacts or historic buildings or anything on their record that could be impacted. You send the information to them and they send back a determination letter, commonly referred to as a no impact letter. And that's what we have in this case. So New York State has determined that much of the Oneonta area is sensitive to archaeological sites, and this parcel is no exception. The applicant initiated a consultation with the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation, who later provided a determination letter stating that in accordance with Section 1409 of the New York State Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation Law, no properties including archaeological and/or historic resources listed in or eligible for the New York State or National Registers of Historic Places will be impacted by this project. As such, the project is not anticipated to have negative impacts to historic or archaeological resources, and therefore, based on a review conducted of the information provided, the proposed action will not result in significant adverse impact on historic or archaeological resources.
Questions from the commission? Hearing none, we move forward.
Number 11, impact on open space and recreation. The proposed action may result in the loss of recreational opportunities or a reduction in open space resource as designated in any adopted municipal open space plan. And the answer to that is no. 11.
Well, the proposed action will occur on currently vacant undeveloped land. The land is privately held and is not available for public use. Further, the lot is not designated in any adopted municipal open space plan. As such, the project will not result in the loss of recreational opportunities for the public. Therefore, based on the review conducted on the information provided, the proposed action will not result in a significant adverse impact on community open space and recreation.
Number 12, impact on critical environmental areas. Proposed action may be located within or adjacent to a critical environmental area, and the answer to that is no, because it's not a designated area and it's not within or adjacent to that.
And that's one of those items, as you're doing an environmental review, if it isn't a critical environmental area, it comes up as such, and you're immediately notified by the state. They're all on state record, so once the state has the record of the project, they make that determination for you immediately.
Answer to any questions? Number 13. 13, impact on transportation. The proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation systems. And the answer to this is yes. Obviously, you're going to put a building there that's going to bring more people to the area. And we'll go through all the items here and then talk about that in the narrative. Projected traffic increase may exceed the capacity of the existing roadway network. No or small impact is checked. Proposed vehicles may result in construction of a paved parking area for 500 or more vehicles. The answer is no. The proposed action will degrade existing transit access. The answer is no. Proposed action will degrade existing pedestrian or bicycle accommodations. The answer is no. Proposed action may alter the present pattern of movement or people and goods, and that's indicated as no or a small impact may occur.
So it's been determined that this action will result in traffic above the present levels and generate demand for additional transportation services. The traffic assessment conducted by the applicant indicated that AM peak hour traffic will increase by 30 trips, 9 entering the facility and 21 exiting, and that PM peak hour traffic will increase by 37 trips, 22 entering and 15 exiting. Those numbers are generated by the ITE. Shelby, help me out here. What's the ITE stand for? Transportation Engineers. So what they've done is they've looked at the different types of uses, looked at the sizes of the uses, and you can generate, based upon what your use is, how many trips are going to be expected. This site plan includes the addition of 56 paved parking spaces. While this is below the number required by the zoning code, the applicant has set aside an area large enough to accommodate an additional 33 spaces should they be needed in the future. Presumably, if the occupants do not have vehicles, they will require alternative transportation. To that end, the applicant has added a walking path from the new building to the bus service on River Street. At present time, buses run bi-directionally down River Street, and since there is no bus stop, commuters must flag down a bus in order to board. According to city officials, in the near future, routes will be changing so that buses will only travel in one direction from west to east. The applicant is in discussions with the city to add a crosswalk on River Street that would allow residents to more safely cross and access bus service. These discussions include the addition of a bus stop and bus bench on the south side of River Street to be located in the city right-of-way. Lastly, the site plan application materials have been reviewed by Lansing Engineering, a firm that specializes in transportation projects. While the site distances from the entrance to the apartments on West Broadway, so that as you're exiting the apartments, a site distance, how far you can see, and there's recommended requirements, so as you're doing new construction where you try to build it within the site distances. The site distances from the entrance to the apartments on West Broadway are below the minimum recommended by the Institute of Transportation Engineers. The addition of signage should serve to mitigate any potential vehicle conflicts and maintain a safe transportation network. Overall, the magnitude of vehicle traffic generated by the site will not impact the overall operations of the adjacent roadway network. The project will improve existing transit access and pedestrian accommodations and have little impact to the pattern of movement of people or goods. As such, any potential impacts appear to be adequately mitigated by the addition of a crosswalk and bus stop and traffic-related signage. Therefore, based on the review conducted of the information provided, the proposed action will not result in a significant adverse environmental impact on traffic.
Questions from the commission?
Can I ask a random question? This occurred to me.
You want to turn the mic?
Sorry, the city said that they wanted a bench at the bus stop. That surprises me that they didn't want a shelter. Is there any more information about that?
So typically, bus shelters are difficult to manage for the bus company because people find their way there for reasons other than riding the bus. And so it is preferable that folks do have an opportunity to sit if they're waiting long periods of time, but that they prefer just to have that bench. We, of course, will be working with the folks who are part of our tenancy and making sure that their needs are met, and so they're not sitting out in the rain, et cetera. So.
That's a good question.
Can you expand on E? I know you went through a thorough explanation, but proposed action may alter the present pattern of movement of people or goods. You said no. What was your reasoning again?
Well, it would be no or small impacts, because really it's a plus minus, right?
Right.
You may have some more car traffic or vehicular traffic generated by this, but you're also adding a bus stop and a way for those people that don't have a means to go there to actually move forward, and that will also benefit the people in the neighborhood to basically be able to use transit more readily than they are right now. So it's a plus minus on this one. Sure, you're going to see more cars, but you're certainly going to have better pedestrian access to mass transit and the facilities to do so.
Have you examined just the impact in terms of once the construction happens, in terms of what the neighborhood would go through and when the construction vehicles and heavy equipment arrive?
It's a construction project, right? It's not a site where you're going to have 100 vehicles a day going in and out, right? You have a foundation for a 61-unit building, so while it's a project of larger than a single-family home,
right?
It's not something like we're going to build a complex there that's going to take, and have continuous truck traffic. Those within the context of development within this area and the use of that area are consistent with what you have to do for a construction project. So yeah, it's going to be an impact. If you live in the neighborhood, there's going to be trucks. Is it going to be 50 a day? Very unlikely, right? It's, what is that? All of us have lived next to construction projects, and I think it's within the realm of reasonableness for this level of development.
This is a little off but what's the timeline for something soup to nuts once let's say ground breaks?
Your estimate, that was around 18 months from beginning to end, right? And obviously there's periods of higher level of activity of major trucks and then periods of less activities with more hammering and nailing and sawing and those sorts of things, right?
Do you know whether the traffic study that was conducted took into account the increased amount of school bus traffic as well as public bus traffic that might be occurring during those hours in the morning? Just curious.
I don't know.
There being a school
I
in
can't
the
answer
neighborhood.
We didn't conduct do a full traffic study because it wasn't required for this. The thresholds were below it, but based on all the studies that we did do and then all the thresholds that we were talking about from the international transportation, they all take, I guess, use generalized things, so not a specific bus route for this location, but the thresholds are all so low that they fall underneath that threshold to require you to do a full-on traffic study.
Further questions? We'll proceed.
Okay, impact on energy. The proposed action may cause an increase in the use of any form of energy, and the answer is yes. Obviously, you're going to build a building and it's going to require some more energy. A, the proposed action may require a new or an upgrade to an existing substation. The answer to that is no, or small impact may occur. Proposed action will require the creation or extension of an energy transmission or supply system to serve more than 50 single or two family residences, or to serve commercial or industrial use. And right now there's power basically to the site, so that's not anticipated. Proposed action may utilize more than 2,500 megawatts per megawatt hours per year of electricity, and that's no or small impact. It will be less than that threshold. And the proposed action may involve heating or cooling of more than 100,000 square feet of building area when completed, and that it will be below that threshold. So the answer is no or small impact may occur.
The proposed action involves the heating and cooling of an additional 64,000 square feet of habitable space, and annual energy demand is projected to be in the range of 575,000 kilowatt hours annually. By necessity, this building will be constructed in accordance with the 2025 New York State Energy Conservation Construction Code. Since the project will not exceed the minimum thresholds provided by the New York State DEC guidance manual that would indicate a moderate to large impact, this action has been determined to have no to small impact. Therefore, based on review conducted of the information provided, the proposed action will not result in a significant adverse impact on energy.
So I've got a question on impact on energy B. This is a 62, 64? 61. I thought you were talking more. No, 61 unit single-family homes, is it not? That's above the 50 threshold.
They're not single-family homes.
Is that not the classification?
This is an apartment house.
Okay. Where's that distinction made?
A single-family home might be 1,500, 2,000 square feet. I did not take the measurements on the apartments, but they're significantly smaller.
Right.
And they're 1 and 2 bedrooms.
Right, okay. Speaking of it from a capacity standpoint, I think that a human or a family of humans would would require the same amount of energy generation, right?
But you can't fit in a house, you can have a limited amount of occupancy in a single apartment, so there's going to be a limited amount of energy use.
Okay.
There would certainly be more energy use in a single-family home.
Even if it was electric heat versus gas heat or whatever?
New York State doesn't allow gas heat anymore. I'm not even sure how to answer that one.
Okay. All right, so we're of the mind that this section B, we're talking apples and oranges with this, right? The 61 units versus the 50 single or two-family residences are different.
Yes.
Okay. And that distinction is made in New York State code?
They're built under 2 separate code books.
So then, yeah, if they're under 2 different code books, then yeah, then that would suffice. All right, thank you.
Other questions from the commission? We will proceed.
Okay, 15, impact to noise, odor, and light. The proposed action may result in an increase in noise, odors, or outdoor lighting. And it's checked yes. Obviously, you're going to have a building that's going to have some lighting, and there will be, right now, it's basically an unoccupied space, so there will be more of all of those to some level. The proposed action may produce sound above noise levels established by local regulation, and that's no or small impact. Proposed action may result in blasting within 1,500 feet of any residence, hospital, school, licensed daycare, nursing home, and that's anticipated to be a no. Proposed action may result in routine odors for more than 1 hour a day. That's answered as no or small impact. Proposed action may result in light shining onto adjoining properties, and that's a no or a small impact. The proposed action may result in light creating sky glow brighter than existing area conditions, and that's a no or small impact. And the explanation will help to clarify some of those.
By its very nature, the proposed action will result in an increase of noise and light. However, the increase in noise will primarily occur during construction and is therefore of temporary duration. Tree buffers will remain on the property to limit the impact of any light and noise increase. Further, the applicant has proposed the use of shielded, downward-facing, dark sky compliant lights. So that would be for the parking area and on the building. Dark sky compliant is a New York State law? I don't know if it actually is a law or not, but requiring that lighting be dark sky compliant, so you're not getting a lot of light disbursement from projects. Further, the applicant has provided a photometric plan for the proposed lighting, and while the light may be visible off-site, it appears that there'll be no to limited light spillover onto adjacent properties. As such, all the impacts are noted as notice small, with buffering and dark sky compliant lighting providing mitigative measures. Therefore, based on the review conducted of the information provided, the proposed action will not result in a significant adverse impact relative to noise, odor, or light.
Questions from the commission?
The tree buffers, will they be currently existing trees or trees that will be planted?
Existing trees.
Okay.
There's other end at the side that, where we're building away from.
Further questions? We will proceed.
Okay, item 16, impact on human health. Proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contamination. And it's marked yes, and we'll clarify why that is. Proposed action is located within 1,500 feet of a school, hospital, licensed daycare center, group home, nursing home, or retirement. And while that is true, based on the exposure from the new or existing sources of contamination, the impact would be no or small impact. The site of the proposed action is currently undergoing remediation. The answer is no. There is a completed emergency spill remediation or completed environmental site remediation on or adjacent to the site of proposed action, and that's no or small impact. The site of the action is subject to an institutional control limiting the use of the property, an easement or a deed restriction, and that is no. Proposed action may affect institutional control measures that were put in place to ensure that site remains protective of human and environmental health. And at this point, the answer is no. Proposed action has adequate control measures in place to ensure that future generation treatment and/or disposal of hazardous waste will be protective of the environment and human health. And the answer is no. The proposed action involves construction or modification of a solid waste management facility. No. Proposed action may result in the unearthing of solid or hazardous waste. No. The proposed action may result in an increase in the rate of disposal or processing of solid waste. The answer is no or small impact. Proposed action may result in excavation or disturbance within 2,000 feet of a site used for disposal of solid waste, solid or hazardous waste, and that says no or small impact. Proposed action may result in Proposed action may result in the migration of explosive gases from a landfill site to adjacent off-site structures, and the answer is no. The proposed action may result in the release of contaminated leachate from the project site, and the answer is no. Other impacts were no or small to moderate.
While the project site is within 1,500 feet of both child care facility and the medical offices, the remaining sub-questions are all related to the possibility of human exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants, i.e. the need for environmental site remediation, the proximity to solid waste management facilities, etc., and no or small impact will occur. Phase 1 environmental site assessment conducted in July 2025 provided by the applicant concluded that this assessment has revealed no recognized environmental conditions, controlled recognized environmental conditions, or significant data gaps in connection with the subject property. We've been advised by the applicant that RSS facilities utilize a site management plan which provides guidance on means and methods of facility operation. Compliance with the plan, including on-site staffing and monitoring, are in place to address and mitigate concerns raised during the public comment period. As such, the overall impact to human health has been determined to be no or small, and therefore, based on the review conducted of the information provided, the proposed action will not result in a significant adverse environmental impact on human health.
Question. Were soil samples taken near the railroad tracks? I don't know forgive me, I don't know the distance between the site plan and the railroad.
I don't know that they would have necessarily been required, but I know
Right, I don't know the difference.
brownfield studies have been conducted on the railroad that
Okay.
came up, that didn't have any findings on them.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I have a question about the last section, just section 15. What is blasting?
It would be explosive rock removal.
So that's not happening?
No.
right? Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Dave?
Consistency with community plans. Proposed action is not consistent.
No, I didn't have it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Wrong Dave. Different Dave.
Okay. Consistency with community plans, number 17. The proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans. That's sort of a double negative, but the answer is no, because it is consistent with the adopted land use plans.
In or around 2010, Oneonta underwent a comprehensive update to the city zoning code, which included an update to the city zoning map. The subject parcel is included on the updated map and is zoned high-density residential, which is intended to provide, quote, "a broad range of housing types and densities." Multifamily apartment-style housing up to 3 stories in height is permitted use in that zone. The building will be greater than 35 feet in height and is therefore subject to site plan review by the City Planning Commission, which is currently underway. The project meets the criteria for housing outlined in Section 300-8 of the City Zoning Code, and therefore is determined that the project is consistent with the purpose and intent of the City Code and consistent with the community plans. Further, the city's 2019 comprehensive plan update included a series of goals and recommendations across 7 policy areas. Under Policy Area 7 for housing, goal number 2 states, "Increase the variety and affordability of housing choices for all ages and incomes." This proposed action fulfills recommendation H8 to, quote, "create additional high-quality senior and supportive housing, as well as affordable rental units for people of low to extremely low income, while maintaining integrated neighborhoods within the city." Lastly, in the fall of 2024, the city of Oneonta was designated as a certified New York State pro-housing community, committing itself to reducing barriers to residential development and addressing the housing shortage found throughout New York State. Therefore, based on the review conducted of the information provided, the proposed action is consistent with community plans.
Do we have questions from the commission?
I have a question. In recent years, the city has made some changes to the zoning code. I don't think that this neighborhood has had any of those changes. Is that correct?
That'd almost be a better question for Kerry.
There were some changes to like a form-based?
The form-based code, which was not in this zone.
The form-based code affected the MU1 district and the university district.
Correct.
Which is up by College.
Other questions?
Yeah, could you define density residential R3 a little bit further? I know it's high, but...
I'm not sure how many zones are in the city right now, but before this zoning code was adopted, we had 18 or 19, David Mercer might be able to answer it better, zones in the city, and it was very complicated building anything in the city. The update to the zoning code, one of the reasons they did it was to reduce the number of zones. So there are what's called R1 zones, which are low density, and pretty much you can build a single-family home there. R2 is the same single 1 and 2 family homes, but they allow you to build them on a smaller lot, so they require less land to build in the R2 zone. There's also the MU2 zone, which are called gateway zones, and that's where the gas station we heard about earlier is located. Downtown Oneonta is considered the MU1 zone, and then they also created the R3 zone, which allows high-density residential apartments and things. So like housing, what's the name of that?
Housing Vision?
No, the other one, up by the college.
Hillside Commons.
Hillside Commons, when those parcels up there were switched to an R3 high-density residential, they were allowed to build that apartment building there. Now, they didn't rezone so they could build that, they rezoned so that they could have different levels of occupancy, and that developer came in and said, I want to build an apartment building here. The same is true with Housing Visions over by Spruce Street, was able to build high-density residential there because that was zoned appropriately. But it was specifically designed to allow these larger style apartment buildings.
Thank you. I'd say 2010 was 16 years ago, so quite a while. Would it be wise to make another zoning update to make it more contemporary?
I was just going to say, very outside of our jurisdiction.
I'm curious, though. I know that, the city was making those changes to the code. Was there any intention to continue through the different types, like R1, R2, R3, to update those as well? I'm just curious.
I was hired by the city after that whole zoning code process was passed. In fact, within like 3 months of my being hired, I had to implement the code, so I had to change everything, which was good because I didn't have an old code that was stuck in my brain. But I don't know how they went about defining where the zones were. I know they had a zoning review committee, and they made recommendations to the council, and it was eventually adopted.
I would also say, so it looks like you left, broadly you said no, but within the individual questions, it looks like it was blank. Is there a particular reason for that?
Just because the question was answered no, it doesn't require you to continue the review anymore. I wrote a rather long explanation just so there was no question of whether this was a community plan or not. Several of the comment letters we received seemed to suggest that this was against the community plan, and it really wasn't. This was the intent.
Did you find any evidence at all that it is against the community plan? Like anything at all, any little nugget anywhere?
No.
Okay.
I did not.
Further questions from the commission? Okay, we'll move on. One more question.
Item 18, consistency with community character. The proposed project is inconsistent with the existing community character. And it was marked yes just because of some of the things that are in the subset here. Proposed action may replace or eliminate existing facilities, structures, or areas of historic importance to the community. The answer to that is no. Proposed action may create demand for additional community services, school, police, and fire. And the answer to that is it does, but it's anticipated to be a no or a small impact may occur. The proposed action may displace affordable or low-income housing in an area where there is a shortage of such housing. And the answer is no, it's actually going to increase low-income housing. The proposed action may interfere with the use or enjoyment of officially recognized or designated public resources, and that's no. The proposed action is inconsistent with predominant architectural scale and character, and the answer to that is no or small impact may occur. The proposed action is inconsistent with the character of the existing natural landscape, and the answer to that would be no or small impact may occur.
By its very nature, the addition of multifamily housing will have an impact on the community. This includes an increased demand for community services, including but not limited to police and fire services. The city is fortunate to have the support of a full-time, paid, non-volunteer departments for each. So we do not rely on the state troopers, and we do not rely on volunteer fire departments. The proposed site plans have been reviewed by the city fire chief, and the initial plans have been revised to include additional fire safety provisions, many of which are above the minimum requirements of the New York State Fire Code and have been requested to help ensure the safety of the community. These include the addition of a fire lane on the rear of the apartment building with a dedicated exit to West Broadway. This allows the fire trucks to circumnavigate the building in the event of emergency. The addition of remote annunciators at each stairwell with exterior indicator lighting so that first responders know the correct side of the building to respond to. So the building by code has to have a fire alarm panel, and by code it only needs in their lobby or in one location that the fire department knows, a main panel that can be read. What we've requested is that since there's stairwells on each end, that there be remote annunciators and exterior lighting, so when there's an emergency, the fire department can pull up, find out which door they need to enter, and go directly in that door, because that leads us to the next item. they've added Knox boxes at each entrance so that in an emergency, each entrance can be accessed as needed. So a Knox box, you probably, maybe you've seen them on the outside of some of the downtown buildings. It's a small black box mounted on the outside of the building. Inside, the property owner keeps the keys in there so that in an emergency, if the property owner is not there, the fire department can access it. So these Knox boxes, you have to go to the fire department, you have to fill out a form, and then you have to pay, I don't know what they cost now, probably about $400 or $500, and they give you the Knox box. And they are able to get in that Knox box and get any keys required. So they don't have to carry keys with them or look for owners of buildings to enter them in an emergency. They've also added areas of refuge in each stairwell. They provide a safe place for residents to wait for emergency rescue. And they've included standpipes in each stairwell with fire department connections, and all these items serve to shorten response time for the fire department. So in an emergency, the fire department, if those items weren't there, they'd have to hook a hose up to the front fire hydrant, go in the building, and carry the hose up to the third floor or where the fire might be. So all these items allow the fire department to respond more directly to that area of the apartment building they need to. And one of the reasons the fire department asks for these items above the code is that while we have a paid, dedicated service, there are limited people staffed. It's not like they can respond with a crew of 30, and they may have to evacuate people before they can address the emergency. They may have to get people out of the building. So each of these items allows the fire department to access the building more quickly, gives a place for the residents to wait safely until the fire department can get to the evacuation. So, and these were all above the code that were requested by the city and added by the applicant. The proposed three-story facility complies with current zoning and was selected over one- and two-story structures in order to maintain as much buffering as possible. Overall, the proposed action is mindful of available local resources, and therefore, based on the review conducted, the proposed action is consistent with community character.
So please tell me if I'm correct in my thinking. E and F, the proposed action is inconsistent with the predominant architectural scale and character, and proposed action is inconsistent with the character of the existing natural landscape. Those two, I think, again, correct me, are superseded by the zoning, so, and also the city plan to state that we want to be welcoming of low-income housing, and it's zoned R3. So therefore, those two things become redundant under the city plan, right? Thank you.
Good questions.
Questions from the commission?
Could you address item B a little bit more? Was there a list of community services that would be necessary to meet any extra demand from the building?
It could certainly impact the school down there, Riverside, but these are mostly one-bedroom apartments. I don't know if RSS has, you might want to speak to this, Christine, the ability to support families, or if these will mainly support individuals or couples, but it's not anticipated that what the DEC looks at is the percentage increase. And if you're approaching 5 to 10% increase, it could potentially have an impact, but I don't think this is that type of facility. It's supportive housing in order, the idea would be to move people to more permanent housing, and so it's almost transitional.
So this is permanent housing, and you are correct that 1 and 2 bedrooms will not afford themselves to large families. Not saying that there may not be some children, but that would be a small amount. In addition to that, most of these children are already enrolled in the public schools here in Oneonta. So it may mean a different bus route or something, but we're not going to see a sudden increase in children enrolling in schools. Did I capture all of your answers?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
In terms of the other items there, the fire safety we've discussed, and in terms of police, I've heard nothing from the police department to indicate that this is going to be a strain on their services.
There is 24/7 presence in the building, support and property management. So this will actually ensure that any additional need for resources is mitigated, along with, and I just wanted to mention, because Shelby has worked so hard, the building is fully sprinkled, as well as there is a firewall in the building. So the items that you mentioned that we're adding create additional layers on top of those very basic things that we came to the table with.
You talk a little bit more about when you say presence, employees?
Employees.
About how many folks?
So as we are getting into the lease-up, we will define exactly what that is, but there will always be someone in the day, and as we understand exactly what supports are going to be in place, we will define that staffing pattern. But it is funded for 27 supports, so 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and then we will weave in the match depending on what that looks like.
When you mean match, what do you mean?
So if there is an interest in going to the grocery store every day at 3 o'clock, we might start a grocery store club and pull together a group of people. That would mean that we not only need our staffing pattern to include someone on site, but having additional folks to come and do that stuff. That's just a silly example.
Okay.
Just a quick point of order. The Planning Commission can't make determinations based on hypotheticals about the potential impact of the thing if staffing isn't there. That's not our responsibility to determine. We're traipsing on that gray area right now, so I'm just wanting us to be aware of that.
Point. So, can I ask a clarifying question?
You're saying we're not allowed to consider the information that we were just given?
We can't consider the staffing levels. What I mean by that is we can't say, well, what if someone calls out sick? We can say that they've come to us and said they will have, and they're planning for 24/7 support. That's what we have to go on. And that's just the nature. And I actually, before this meeting, I went through and printed off a bunch of stuff from our handbook from the state. So I made sure to check on that before we came to this meeting today.
So you're saying we can only base our decision-making on the information we're given?
We can only base our decision-making on the information we are given. Right.
Can the city attorney answer?
I'm not exactly sure what the
Well,
can you ask them
So-
about what their support is going to be? Sure.
So, and if they're giving that answer, we're relying on that information, I'm curious what would happen in 10 years from now if...
What you said is we're denying it because we're requiring them to have these three people on site all the time, then that would be a problem. And we certainly inquire as part of the environmental impact of their plan is. You can then either accept that or deny it. The answer is providing what the truth you're saying. On the one hand, you can't make a determination requiring them to a specific level of staffing because that's what you think is required, even though there's no statutory. At the same time, you can certainly ask. You can inquire about that it may have an impact on the seeker. So the answer is both that, right?
I'll take it.
Traipsing on gray area.
Further questions from the commission? Don't fret if you don't have your questions now. I think that all of us, audience, commission included, just got a lot of information. I think there is a lot of information that RSS has submitted in their site plan and for this project. In the erring on the side of transparency, I think that it would be most beneficial not only to the public, but additionally to the Planning Commission to allow us some time to digest some of this material, potentially consider or pose questions that we would like to come with to our next meeting so that we are really addressing each and every aspect of this project. So I'm going to make a motion to table the RSS application to our April meeting with the anticipation that we will come with our questions, either for Delaware Engineering or for RSS, and then we can possibly move forward on some sort of decision or determination. Yep. Carrie can certainly do that.
It will be April 15th.
Wednesday, April 15th. That's my motion.
I'll second your motion.
Questions from the commission?
Is it going to be at 7 o'clock?
Hopefully.
That's our current plan.
It was, by the way, the meeting was only moved to 7:30 today because of a scheduling conflict here at the Foothills. So the anticipation is that our meetings will be as regularly scheduled, which is the third Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m.
TBD.
Location is to be determined, but we will obviously send out social media and mailings as soon as we know. Yep. Further questions from the commission? We will call roll.
Chair McCucci?
Yes.
Vice Chair Risberger?
Yes.
Commissioner Lettis?
Yes.
Commissioner Swan?
Yes.
Commissioner Parmenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Simon?
Yes.
All right, I want to thank again everyone for coming and your patience. I know it's a little late. We appreciate all of you. I appreciate everyone on the commission, all of our applicants, Carrie and the police department for being here this evening, and Delaware Engineering, of course, and Dave for coming out and keeping us all company. So thank you all very much, and we will see you next month.
I know, that's why I joined. I hope.
Way past your
that-
bedtime.
Well, I was hoping that